Over the last couple of years, the definition of application lifecycle management has kind of extended from what it was for a long time of work items and code and build and test to really include now going all the way through DevOps, all the way through production deployments. And I recently had the opportunity to access a TeamForge site that we set up for one of our partners that has Chef included. And Chef is a deployment tool, and it's one of the common open source deployment tools. And so, because I had access to this, I thought this would be a great time to capture a recording of how things work in our integration with Chef, or in one possible integration with Chef. So I'm in TeamForge here, and I'm going to scroll down on the home page and talk a little bit on this slide here about how DevOps would work and what we're going to see in this particular view. It's all going to start with an artifact, with a tracker. And in this case, I'll start with a task. The subject of how tasks come to be and the breakdown of epics and stories into tasks and all that. That's a topic for not going to cover it here. That's a topic really for another recording, another video, another demo at some other time. But in response to that task, the developer is going to commit some code. Doing that commit is going to cause Jenkins to wake up and run a build. In addition to the build, it's going to run some unit tests, some Selenium unit tests that are associated with it. And then if that build is successful, and if I don't type something wrong, that build will be successful. Then the results of that build, the WAR file that makes up that build, is going to be uploaded into the TeamForge file release system. And then another thing that's going to happen is a new tracker artifact is going to be created. And that tracker artifact really represents this build or this release. It's a handle to this build that we can then use to interact with Chef to have this release package, this WAR file, moved and deployed to the right website. In this case, where we'd like it to be. And so that tracker artifact will be created, and then to actually kick off the deployment, that's a state transition, and that works because we can trigger things off of a state transition in TeamForge. Once that state transition is kicked off, that's going to cause Chef to wake up, and Chef is going to do the deployment. It knows where to go to TeamForge to get those build results. It's going to deploy them to the target nodes, load the packages, and do things, do all those kind of things. And then at the end, it's going to transition that tracker to a state that lets us know that that particular package represented by that tracker, by that artifact, has been deployed. And then we'll take a look and really see then, what our changes are. And then of course I won't really go into it, but we always have, now that we're in TeamForge, we have the ability to report issues against something like that and do feedback and really complete the loop between ops and dev. So we'll start here by taking a look at the BuildBox website. This is our dev website here, where we'll see the changes being made. And this shows up in TeamForge because I'm using the linked application capability of TeamForge, where I can really link any kind of application in. In this case, I'm linking in the website that represents the development instance of this product, this site that I'm going to be working with. And the change that we'll make is going to be to change this background here from this lovely dark green color to a bright red color when we do that following the deploy. So that's what the change will be. I'm going to jump back over. I'm logged in here as myself. And so I'm going to go in and take a look. I've already created a task here. In the interest of time, I've already created a task and assigned it to myself. I'm going to go in and take a look at this task just so we can see where we are with this task. So this is a task. It's been created. It's been assigned to me, but I haven't started on it yet. So what I'm going to do now is switch over into Eclipse, and I'll actually do my development in Eclipse here, and use Eclipse to interact with TeamForge as while I'm in the role of a developer. So looking at Eclipse here, I have this open in the Java perspective, but over here I have a query that's showing all of my tasks. It's pulling this information directly from TeamForge. I'm going to open this task here in Eclipse. This is the same task that we looked at just a second ago in the web browser. What I'm going to do here is transition this to the in progress state and submit my changes. And that's just going to let everybody else on the team know that that I'm working on it now. So that the task is in progress, and I can go off and make my changes. I'm going to make a very, very simple change here. We'll change this background color here. That's the code for this green. We're going to change that to a lovely red color, and save my changes, and then do a commit. And so this is going against a Subversion repository. And so when I do the commit, we are committing against Subversion. By putting these brackets around the TeamForge artifact number, that's going to create an association between this commit in Subversion and my and this particular tracker. Because I had selected this tracker and opened it, now the task URL shows up here in my comments as well. So go ahead and do the commit. It's going to do the check-in. And the check-in now is going to trigger Jenkins to wake up and begin our build. So I'm going to switch back now into the web interface and take a look at what Jenkins is doing. So back here in TeamForge, we've integrated Jenkins into the build and test. So when I click on that, it takes me from the TeamForge portal right into my build and test Jenkins environment, and we see that we're running a build. Jenkins woke up and it's doing the build. It's going to take a couple of minutes to actually do this build, because it does not only do this build, but it runs some unit tests as well, and so we'll click this open here and see the progress of our build. This is a pretty straightforward change, really not even a code change. So I really expect this to go through, very, very quickly, very seamlessly. But it does take just a minute for the build to run. And as part of this build, as I said, it's going to run some test cases, and those test cases could show up here on our integration, our unit test result, test trends, all the information that you would typically see around a Jenkins build. So this build was successful. We can tell here it's not a red fail. And we can drill in, take a look at it here. We can see what caused it. It was this change to this task that I was working on. We can use that to navigate to it if we want. It was started by an SCM change. We can see what happened. We can see what test cases were run here if I wanted to, and we can see that the package, the WAR file for this, was uploaded into the CollabNet file release system. And the other thing now that happened was a release tracker was created. So let's take a look at that now back here in TeamForge. Let's take a look at our deployment pipeline, and we should actually see now that there was a new tracker that was created earlier today. And so that particular tracker is going to be in the comes in here just the way this particular site is set up. That tracker is going to come in the closed state, but it'll be our build job 235 here, so we can go in and take a look at that. What I'm going to do here now is assign this task or this deployment artifact. I'm going to assign that to the deployment manager person, which is, in this case, it's a multi-person user ID, and this will make it available to that person, make it assigned to that person, so that they can do their work. Now, I don't have the permissions to do any transitions with it. The only thing when I look at my status changes, closed is the only place where I can take this transition. However, the deployment manager is going to have the permissions to take other actions on it, to do other transitions. And so that represents the power of the TeamForge role-based access control model, where as a developer I can't really do this deployment, but as the deployment manager I can. So what we'll do is go ahead and do the update here. And we've updated this successfully. So now what I'm going to do is actually log out and then once we once I log out, I'm going to log back in as that deployment manager. So I'm going to log in here as deployment manager. And I'm going to drill into the development sandbox here and take a look at that tracker in my deployment pipeline. And again, we're filtered here on things that are open, and that particular one is not in the open state. So I'm actually going to clear that off here, and what I'm going to do is pick another slightly different view here that'll show things sorted by the submit date, so I can get this one up here at the top of the list. Give just a second here to resort. So this is the new build tracker, the new deployment manager tracker that's there. And so if I go log in, remember now I'm here as the deployment manager. If I change the status to deploy to dev, which is the only transition available to me, that's actually going to kick off when I do this update. That'll actually kick off the Chef deploy. And the reason for that is that we can track when things happen based on, or we can cause things to happen based on state transitions on a tracker. So this tracker, this artifact, represents a handle to that build that gives us a way to move that build through a life cycle. And so in this case, we're going to do a deploy to dev, and we'll click update. And by doing that deploy to dev, there's been a trigger fire, and Chef is going to wake up and start actually doing the move into production. So let's jump over here to Chef while that's happening, and drill in here a little bit and take a look at what's happening over here on the Chef side. As we look at our at the node here in Chef, we can actually drill down here on our Chef packages. I believe it'll actually be on the CTF Chef artifact here, and we can go take a look at the transaction engine and the packages and what's being deployed. So we can see that we're what we had was we had 3091. The new one here will be 3092. So in the background, that Chef is actually doing that deploy and rolling that out. And once Chef is done with that deploy, it will transition that tracker from the deploy state to the deployed state. So we'll actually be able to see where it was where 235 was in the deployed to dev. It's now in the deployed to dev, which lets us know that the deployment has been completed, and we can get some detail on that if we need to. But let's jump back over here to our build box and take a look at our changes. And if you recall, before we had the nice, lovely dark green color. We made the change to make it red. We did the deploy, and now our change is out here, has been deployed to the website, and it shows up as red. So this was a change that was driven by TeamForge, handed off to Chef, and then Chef took care of the work of actually getting it put out on the on this particular test server. And then from once it was put out on the test server, then we can see our changes. And of course, we can look through Chef to see what what we were working on. And this has been updated now to represent the build tracker here, or the release tracker artifact 3093, which ties back right back into TeamForge to the build that we were working on, which was that as well. So this was just a real quick overview of making a change, doing a commit, having that commit kick off a build, and then using the results of that build to deploy a change out to a development testing website using Chef.